This is Memnoch from Abyssic, and you're watching Richard Metal Fan.
Hey, what's up, guys? Episode 351 of Richard Metalfan Interviews, calling from Zoom, and I'm here with Memnoch from Abyssic, Antiqua, and Art of Departure. So, how you doing today, man? It is so great to be able to have you on.
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm glad you're wanting to have me on your YouTube channel. It's a great honor.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, definitely. It's great to be able to have you on. So, kind of what I want to talk about is talk about like your musical history and sort of do a rundown of your discography. But take me back to young Knock. So, growing up in Norway, what were the first bands that got you into metal, and what made you want to slap at a bass?
the first band that got me into metal is pretty much a cliche, I think, but I love the band. It was actually Judas Priest.
Yeah,
It was
legends.
back yeah, in 1986. I bought the album that was called Turbo Lover.
Yeah,
I think it was
yeah,
released in 86.
you're correct.
And that's how it started and went on from there. And to be honest, I started playing piano and guitar, and I saw a video that was called Cliff 'Em All. And that made me throw away the guitar and just go right on bass because it was
Yeah.
like Cliff Burton, a legend. That's what I want to be like.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like, especially when I first heard like the instrumental Orion, like that when he does that do I almost thought that was a guitar, but it turns out it was like bass with like a wah and
Mm.
distortion. I think he was like I could also put Geezer Butler in there, like the first like bassist to use like a wah with like distortion and stuff.
Yep, absolutely. No, he was just when I saw him, his head was, spinning like hell all the time. I was like, whoa. And I was like, that's what I want to be. And also my first band, I started out being a vocalist. And so that's why it felt natural for me to start singing again when I started up Abyssic. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but before that, I believe you were in a band called Metadocs. Like I'm digging deep, like nobody ever talks about this stuff.
Whoa. Wow, you really have done your research, man. Yeah, that was a melodic thrash metal band, and we almost made a breakthrough back in the 90s, but then the black metal wave hit, and thrash metal and death metal and everything just went. The scene went dead, more than likely. So I wanted to start a black metal band, and that's why I started Abyssic in '97.
Yeah.
But then I joined Suspiria, and after that, there was no time.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, but I think
So,
also you also did Vanaheim. Tell me about that.
Valheim is like a history I want to forget. No, no, it was a okay band. We were struggling a bit with the vocalists because they weren't really into metal, and they tried their best, and it sounded, to be quite frank, awful. And they were out of tune and out of shape and out of everything. So I left the band. Uh, and when I started, when I joined Suspiria actually in '99. So
Yeah.
Valheim was trying to be the kind of folk Viking metal long before everybody else even thought about it.
Yeah. But tell me about starting up Abyssic. Originally it was just called Abyssic Dreams. So how did you get to know like everybody at the time?
And thing, it was only me. I had our, Athera that became the vocalist of Suspiria later on. I had him as a drummer just because I needed a drummer. and I just released a few demos back in '97, and it was all inspired by old doom metal bands, and of course, Madame Bride, and loads of other doom bands back then. And I wanted to do some live shows, but then again, I was asked to join Suspiria in '99, and that basically just took all my time. So I didn't have any time left to do any of my solo band Abyssic. But then in 2011, I think it
Yeah.
was, Elworn, the guitar player from Suspiria, he just had some hard disks, hard drives that I had left. I don't know why he had them, but I'd left them and he had them. And he found a lot of music that I'd made for Abyssic. And he just asked me, why don't you start the band again? And I was like, why
Yeah.
not? So naturally, I just wanted Elwood to join me because he's a great guitar player. And then we started up again, and we had Asgeir, the drummer from Testament, and Ishan, and he's a legendary drummer. We
Yeah.
just had him as a drummer and the key player, Andre Osli. So he joined, and
Yeah.
I guess
Because
the rest is history.
because I know you did like a
Yeah,
two-song demo from 97. Like do you know where anybody could find it? Because I was trying to like find it. I can't find it anywhere.
probably have to mail it to you or something because
Yeah.
it's back then we did it a few CDs, which I burnt for a few friends. So it's not really out there. And the songs are real poor quality because back then nothing was digital except for CDs. So we did it like the real old school thing, where what is it called in English? The tape recorder, the real tape
Yeah.
recorder.
Yeah, sort of like analog.
Yeah. So, oh, very much so. Uh, I can see if I find it on my hard drive, and I can email at least one of the songs. And don't kill me because it's really poor. Bear in mind, this is many years ago.
I won't judge, man. I won't judge. But yeah, one interesting fact I saw apparently you also played session bass for Borknagard. Like when was that time frame like?
That was in between, so that would be '98. I did some session for Borknagar, and the thing is, we were supposed to do a lot of tours with Borknagar, but then Simon quit Borknagar and joined the Dimmerborger full time.
Oh
So
wow.
Vortex Simon, he quit Borknagar and joined the Dimmerborger, and then I was like, okay, there's not going to be any tours, and Suspiria is starting to tour, and so I left Borknagar.
Yeah.
Uh, I also have a secret. If you have done your research, maybe you know, I also played with Emperor for a very, very short time,
Oh wow.
and
Yeah.
also Old Man's Child. I played on one record.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah,
there's
I know you also did Seven Sins I think was after the Borknagar stuff. You did the Illusions of Evil demo in 99.
true, true.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah,
So I've
tell me about that.
been, uh, I've been Illusions of Evil was recorded in the cellar of base for Old Man's Child back in the day. He had a band called Minus Theoret, and that was way before the movies and everything. Um, he was having his own studio in the cellar, and we recorded the demo there. Kenny set up the drums down in the cellar, like it was like a living room. He lived there, so we just recorded in the living room the drums and everything, and it was quite a funny experience because the demo when we shipped it out to the record labels back in the day, it was like everybody wanted it. So it was like, whoa, hey, 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 relax. But and we chose to go with Nuclear Blast because they were the biggest at that time. Yeah, so
Yeah. But then of course you mentioned that you also play with Old Man's Child. Like I listened to Revelation 666, The Curse of Damnation. It was great. Like what was it like working with Galder? Or of course used to play with Dimmu.
well, that was interesting experience because Galder is very much you want everything to be totally perfect. So he didn't leave anything to coincidence. So everything had to be like spot on, which is good, obviously. And I had to learn how to play the bass with a pick because I use my fingers, and that
Yeah.
was quite an experience. Peter Tetgren, who is in Pain and Hypocrisy, he was sound engineering, and he's quite good. Oh no, he's not quite good. He's very good at his work.
Yeah, and he's also
And
kills it as a producer too.
Oh, yes, because he was, always watching me while I was playing. Like, now, again, do this part and this particular part. And back then, again, we didn't have Pro Tools. They had, this ADATs that looked like VHS tapes. So you recorded, you had like, it looked like a VHS uh, recording things to one. You had four on each. So if you did something wrong, you had to rewind and almost, okay, now punch in. Like
Yeah.
today, you can just go like, oh, there's the WAV file. Okay, bam, it's
Yeah.
like a
So you
total
just
other
gotta
world now,
like ready and
So
action.
so basically, yes. And you had to know the song by heart because if you
Yeah.
didn't, there weren't no, copy paste back then. You
Yeah.
had to know so they wanted you to play the most of the song without stopping. So yeah, that was pretty hard.
Yeah. Yeah, but I know that that album was recorded at, of course, Abyssic Studio. Like I've heard a lot of cool things about that place. Like there needs to be like a documentary about that studio because that's where a lot of like the great like bands from like Norway and Sweden like record.
Yep, definitely. I would agree. And it's haunted, that
What?
we used to, yeah, it's the whole studio is at a place where it used to be can I say Luna Asylum anymore? It's not called that, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It used to be a Luna Asylum where it was like a lot of very, very crazy people. And they died there, they committed suicide there, they did a lot of things. So Peter, he was like, okay, when we're recording, if it feels like somebody's watching you, never mind, it's just a ghost. So we're like, what?
Holy shit.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was crazy, man. And really, it was like I was in the studio alone, just rehearsing. I was like, nah, nah, okay, I'm done. I'm like, nope, not doing it.
Yeah. But going into 2001, before Suspiria, you did Black Comedy. You did their first album, Crawl to Exceed. Tell me about that.
That was very interesting because he I always liked the technical thing, but Black Comedy was technical in a way that like they looked very much up to they loved Meshuggah and they wanted to be like Meshuggah and just it was eventually ended up being impossible to play, but it was a load of fun when we did it because I learned a lot and the sound engineer is the same guy that has recorded two of the Abyssic albums
Yeah.
because he has his own studio and he's a very good sound engineer. Strand Studio, it's called. So he also was like very much the picky guy. Okay, everything needs to be tight. I said, Tiger. so so I learned a lot by playing in Black Comedy, and they had a few very catchy songs. So And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then of course now we're talking about Suspiria. You did that first album, Predominance. So what was that whole writing and recording process like, being that was sort of like the debut full-length Suspiria album?
it was like an experiment because nobody knew what it would turn out like. Our singer Athera had never done any real growl, high pitched before, so he was struggling. Like, yeah, okay, he downed a lot of whiskey back then to be able to sing because he had such a sore throat because there was no technique back then. It was only screaming. Today, everybody knows how to scream without hurting their voice. And also, the sound on the album was like we wanted the sound to be like the demo because we like the roughness of the demo, if you know what I mean. And and the drums also we wanted them to sound like as cold as possible. We didn't want that typical warm death metal sound, if that makes sense. So we worked a lot on the sound, and eventually Peter, because we recorded in Abyss Studio, so Peter eventually just went like, "Guys, okay, I'm hearing you, but let me do my work now." And he did his magic, and it was like, "Okay, we surrender. We know you're the master," and it turned out great. Uh, but it was quite a ride. We were there for 2 months in the studio, actually,
Nice.
recording it. So it was very expensive.
Yeah. And then when the
So
album first came out, you just started like touring outside of like Norway and stuff, or was it still just locally?
what we did was when the album was released, we went straight out on what was that 1 month tour with the following. It was Suspiria, Nevermore, Lacuna
Wow.
Coil, Dimmu Borgir, and In Flames.
Wow, what a
That was
lineup.
quite a tour.
Yeah.
That was crazy, man. So to be honest, we were young. I was only in my 20s, and the youngest guy, L1, was almost not 20. It was I think he just turned 21. And we were heavily drinkers, like all Norwegians are, thinking we were absolute rock stars, which we were not, because we were the warm-up act for such a lineup. So we were, how to put it, quite nicely put in our places, not by the bands, but by the fact that we understood that, okay, we need to be humble because this is a legendary tour which will never probably happen again. And it hasn't for 25 years, bear in mind. So we were quite, humbled and stopped drinking that much
Yeah. Gotta be
because we
professional.
realized, okay, exactly. And we're there for the people who's listening. We're not there for our own partying and fun. We should respect the fans, and we did. So it was, we didn't sober up because that's just a cliche. We didn't drink as much before we went on stage, but then again, after we were done, we were drinking heavily again. So it's like, but that's tour life, I guess.
Yeah.
And also, 14 days after that tour, I came home, I had a rest, and then we went out on another tour with Dimmu Borgir and Destruction.
Oh wow.
And
Another great
yeah,
tour.
exactly. And again, we were like, okay, we learned our lesson, but this is kind of rockstarish cool. So I have a video where actually Mustis, Øyvind from Dimmu Borgir, and
Yeah.
and all the bands, we were in a bar after show partying, and little did we know that we actually emptied the whole bar for
Holy
every single
shit.
beverage.
Holy
I mean,
shit.
yeah, and we were a lot of people. And guess who paid the bill because we had no clue back then? Oh, that was the warm-up act Suspiria.
Oh wow. Holy shit. That's
So
crazy, man.
we were like in death to the, yeah, it is. It was
Yeah.
like several. 100,000. We're like, what? What happened here?
Yeah.
But again, it was tour life. It was fun.
But going into the next album, Vindication, came out literally like a year after Predominance. You just started writing for Vindication right after Predominance came out?
Yeah, pretty much. And again, the main writer of music was Cyrus, and is Cyrus. I'm not a part of the band anymore, as you know, but probably the new album will be all written by him. So he's a very productive, guitar player. He writes a lot of great riffs. So same here. He made all of the music. Atera actually wrote all the lyrics on the album. So kind of the music wise, it was little for the other band members to do other than just record bass and guitars and drums, and we did it again in Abyss studio. Only
Yeah.
this time Atera didn't record the vocals there. He did it in Norway because there was a producer who wanted to uh, work on the vocals for him, which was kind of smart because he didn't have any techniques, as I said, so he was suffering. So that was Vindication, recorded in, I don't remember the studio name, which he did the vocals. Sorry.
Yeah, that was the BBM studio in Norway.
That will be the one. That will be
Yeah.
the one. Good.
Yeah.
Ah.
Uh, yeah. And one interesting fact I found out about this album is that Peter Tägtgren believed in the success of Suspiria so strongly that he produced the album for free.
That is also true. And we were, how to put it, Suspiria wasn't a very good, you know, upwards slope. We were doing great. And for some reason, we chose to leave Nuclear Blast after this album, which was kind of dumb. Well, again, we were young. We thought we were more rock stars than we actually were, I guess. Uh, we're learning as we, live by learning, learn by living. And so the next album we recorded, we were even more humbled, and we had a Norwegian record label. And we were like, okay, let's just do the best out of it and see what happens.
Yeah,
And
that'd
that's
be
the
Unlimited.
most selling album so far. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
with
that will be the most
Taboo
selling album so
Recordings.
far. That
So,
was crazy.
so
Yes,
Taboo,
sir.
how did they
That
find
was
Suspiria?
absolutely crazy. Yeah. Well, Norway is a small country. And the metal community in Norway is a small community, even though it seems big. So we were talking with some people, and they were talking, and we were like, okay, we're leaving Nuclear Blast, blah, 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 blah. And I think it was at a party where the manager of the record label was at Taboo, and they were like, yeah, yeah, we'll be interested in trying us out. And we're like, sure. It's as easy as that. And went to several meetings, and they gave us several, different options. And from there to signing to recording our most selling album is like they did a fantastic job promoting our album. They did a fantastic job with the personal relations with the record label was pretty much like friends. And so they just did a very good follow-up. So I'm jumping now to the next album, but then we wanted
Yeah.
to record an EP
Yeah,
with
which
some cover songs.
Devil May Care.
That's the one, Devil May Care, with Sun Always Shines on TV and Wild Child by Wasp.
Yeah, and Lack of
Isn't
Comprehension
that
by
one?
Death too. So, what made you guys decide to do like those cover songs in particular?
We did the Sun Always Shines on TV because we're Norwegians, and Aha is Norwegian. Norwegian. So that was just, and it was a cool song because we thought, what would Aha actually sound like if it were metal? So that also started like a drunk joke. We were drinking. I was like, hey, what do you think Aha would sound like? We were like metal band. We were like, oh, let's try it out. And we did. So that's history. And Wasp was something we grew up with. I was a Wasp fan when I was younger. Actually, it was Judas Priest. Then I started listening to Wasp. So when I started to listening to metal, so it was a natural thing to do. And of course, Death. I love the bass lines on that song. It's fretless. It's played by
Steve
the guy from
DiGiorgio.
Sinus. That's the one. He's
Yep.
in
Test.
Testament now, isn't he?
Yep. In my opinion, one of my favorite bass players. And he's very underrated too,
Absolutely,
in
he's a
my
genius,
opinion.
in my opinion. Oh yeah, big time, big time. He's very much underrated. He's so technical that I couldn't even try to redo the bass line, so I had to do my own because it's like all over the bass. I was like, what,
Yeah.
why, how?
Yeah. 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 He's a genius, man.
Oh, oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. But then of course the next
fantastic. So
next
so
is
that was it. We just
yeah.
recorded it, and that also hit the charged. Sorry, no, that hits all the commercial charge. So we had to go like a lot of interviews and did a lot of things. There was like the top first Norwegian metal band on the top 20s in Norway. Like whoa. So
Yeah.
that was a interesting experience.
Yeah. And then next up is Cut from Stone. Like, tell me about that one.
Yeah. Cut from Stone was, my opinion, a very good album. But again, then what happened was a bigger label bought Taboo, and we had a new label manager, a new A&R, and they didn't really believe in the album, so they didn't promote it. So it kind of got lost in the masses, if you know what I mean. It just, and that's sad because it's a real good album. It was, where was it recorded? Help me out.
Yeah. Yeah, it was I think it was recorded at Strand Studios in
Yeah,
Stabekk,
of
Norway.
course. Yeah, of course. That was Tom Studio, of course. I there you go. I'm getting older. I keep on forgetting, but that's life. So yeah, it was recorded there. Uh, did the bass. Yeah, I did the same there, and we mixed it at and
Dugout
master. No, we
Studios
mastered it in. Yes, there you go. That
in
was a good
Studio
album. It was
Baston.
interesting. Yeah, it was. For some reason, I don't remember too much about it. Uh,
Yeah.
sorry, that it's like a forgotten album. That's really sad, actually, because it's a very good album.
Yeah, a lot of people need to listen to it more.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. And then of course then next up is Attitude, first album
Mhm.
on a Candlelight record. So what was that like working with them?
Candlelight are a very good label for the kind of music we were back then. They also did a good promotion job. Uh, we did a lot of touring in the UK because of Candlelight. So did like a 14-day tour just in the UK alone with that album. Actually, that is one of my favorite albums. I love the start. I mean, everything, the first song to this last song. I don't think it's any songs that are kind of like, everything, every song is just as good as the next one on that album. That's my opinion. So I really love that album. And Atera had really worked on his voice. You can hear it got more power. Uh, and ironically, when we were supposed to do the tour, he had a heart attack right before the tour. So we had to bring another singer on that tour. But then again, that's life.
Yeah. Yeah, but then it was around 2012 or so you started up Abyssic. So what made you decide to like start it up again? Because I know you mentioned you had like some stuff saved on like a hard drive and stuff. So how did the idea come to be to start the band back up again?
because Elvorn just gave me the songs I had on the hard drives, and he says you need to start this up again because these are really great songs. So some of the songs that I had back then are actually on the debut album. Some of the, especially the first one and the second one, they are mainly what I made had on that hard drive. So and originally we were looking for another singer because I wasn't confident enough to do the vocals, and we were trying out a lot of different vocalists, and they didn't match the vibe or energy we wanted in the band. So I just said, okay, to hell with it. I'll just try. So I debuted my vocals like on an album just by going in the studios unprepared. I knew what I was roughly what I was going to sing, and then we just tried, and it actually turned out quite good.
Right.
So yeah.
Nice. But tell me about making like the first full-length album, A Winter's Tale. Like I think that's a really great debut. I thought you really like hit the ground running with that album. So what was that whole writing and recording process like?
Oh man, that was a long, painstaking process because back then it was all up to me, more likely. And first, Oscar did the drums, and he, poor fella, he had to play listening to my not very, very good guitar playing because I, did some pre-recording just so he had some to listen to when he was playing his drums. But he did an incredible job. So that was like 1 month of his painstaking working, listening to my crappy guitar playing. And that we did in the, what is that called, studio called again? Man, I'm getting old.
It's a top room
Uh,
studio in Lunner, Norway.
oh my God, of course it's Top Room Studio. So
Yeah.
we did that he did the drums for a month, and then I just talked to Elvorn. I said, we need a guitar player. Would you do it? And he was like, sure. And he also worked his ass off for a week. And here's the funny story. Back then, he used to be a very technical guitar player, but now he's getting older, so he don't care anymore. So he was like playing a lot of vibration on the guitar. Do do do. I was like, that's one thing you are not allowed to do. And I was like, why? I was like, because everybody does. Let the tone ring out by itself, not with a web, because it makes it so much colder, if you know what I mean. It's so much. I wanted the first album to be really like horror, and then I couldn't have like a like the jerking off guitar thing. So I was like, no, just keep the tone, let it ring, and die out. And he struggled, and I felt I felt so sorry for him. It was like, you were looking, we wanted to bend. I was like, no, no bending. Poor fella. But he managed.
Yeah. I just love how on
And
that
then
yeah. I just love like
sorry.
how every song on the album is like about like 15 and even like the title track is almost like 30 minutes long. So one inspired sort of like to have
Yeah.
like only 4 songs, but they're all like super long.
It's that was actually the key player, the synth player, because he's kind of into old school prog bands. So he wanted to make songs that had, if the listener doesn't really pay attention to the song, wouldn't realize that even though the piano or the strings or whatever sound the same throughout the whole song, it isn't, because it alters the way it's built up, and he puts more and less, and so basically it was just, again, he wanted to try to have as much things happening in the song, but in 3 minutes you couldn't do it. In 10 minutes, he couldn't do it. So turn out 15 minutes. And the 22-minute song was like a tribute to Shine on You Crazy, if that makes sense. We wanted to do like just an epic floating song. So that's why I'm I'm a fan of Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
So we wanted to do something like epic like that. And but we were a horror band back then, doom horror band. So the theme had to be like very, scary
Yeah, kind of like a darker
horror-ish.
version of Pink Floyd.
Exactly.
Or just be Black
Exactly.
Floyd.
Yeah, that's never thought of that one.
Yeah.
Black Floyd. Hey.
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine maybe there is a band called that. I don't know.
Probably after this interview, it will be.
Yeah. That's wild, man. And then of course talking about the next album, High the Memory, I thought that was a really good album. Like, did you feel like any pressure to follow up on Winter's Tale going into that?
Hide a memory. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that Elvorn, our guitar player, he participated more. He made more of the riffs on that song, that album, and it made it even more doomish because he's even though he's a technical guitar player, he is also very much into doom. So he made a lot of the more doom parts of the song. And of course, we wanted to follow up the debut album because at least I hate when you hear a band their debut album, you love it, and they release the second album. It's like, what happened? Where's my band? It's like total different band. So and also to put it quite frank, we just do what we wanted to do and want to do. And we wanted to make another album that was horror, uh, like a horror album. So that's why yeah, hide the memory.
Yeah.
It's not, it's hard to give you any more explanation than that, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it was around the same time you joined up with Art of Departure. So, what was it like working with them, and how did you end up getting to hook up with those guys?
Well, I just did one song, and it was because where I live now, it's a very small town called Kviteseid. It's the same town that Tarjei is from, the drummer, the Art of Departure guy. He's from here. So he was visiting his parents, and he just hooked me up and asked me, "Do you want to do some fretless bass on my solo project?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" So that's how it came about, actually.
Yeah, is there any plans to do more Art of Departure stuff?
Well, it depends if he wants to have me back. I'm not sure. Um, I haven't heard anything. So if you want to, he can just, give me a call and no problem.
Awesome.
So
And then I think
that's
also
yeah, that's all up to him.
yeah, and then I know you also in 2020 you did the funeral crown with Antiqua. So how'd you hook up with them? Because I know
Yeah.
it's of course Zaynor, formerly of Neobliviscaris, and of course my good friend Lindsay Schoolcraft.
Yeah.
So how'd you get involved with them?
That's the story. When I told Lindsay, she actually thought I was hilarious because I just got a message on Messenger from someone calling himself Zen. And back then, I was used to a lot of people. Okay, this sounds very like cocky. It's not meant like this, but I was used to a lot of people contacting me like, "Oh, do you want to join my band? Do you want to do some bass? Do you want to blah blah blah?" And I was so tired of it. It's like, Zen, who the hell is that? I didn't even answer him for 14 days.
Oh wow.
And all of a sudden, wasn't there a guy who contacted me? Okay, I have to answer him. I said, "Yeah, sure. Who are you?" And he sent me the demo, and I was like, "Whoa, damn! Why didn't I answer before?" So Lindsay thought that was so hilarious because she was like, "Yeah, there you go, son. You're not that, rock star after all."
Wow. Yeah,
That was
but
just an internal joke. But anyways,
yeah.
so
Yeah, and then of course, lastly, but certainly not least, I want to talk about the latest Abyssic album, brought forth in Iniquity. That's a tongue twister a little bit. So, what was
oh, it
that whole
is.
writing and recording process like for it?
That was the toughest one because now we're at a stage that we didn't want to repeat ourselves. We didn't want to sound like uh, a band that has done it all, so we don't have nothing more to give. It actually took just to write the songs because I wrote a lot of the guitar on this time around, and I was doing riffs, sending them off to Elvorn. He was like, "Nah," and got it back again. Another one. He was like, "Nah." I'm like, "Oh, hell." Another one. Send it off. Okay, this sounds cool. We sent it over to the synth player. He did his stuff and got it back. Nah, we didn't like it. Back again. So it was back and forth for weeks. And also the lyrics was really hard to write because I was so uninspired for some reason writing the lyrics. But when it kind of started, it loosened a bit, and then it was easier to write. But I didn't have a theme, so I had to find a theme, and then ended up being okay. Let's write about the sailors from Norway that got got either torpedoed or whatever. I was like, no, I can't do that because that's too cliche. So then I started to write the song "Cold as a Winter Storm." It's not actually about being in a boat, uh, drowning or whatever. It's about metaphorically being the captain on your own ship, being your body. And I wanted to write something meaningful, so I thought, okay, let's write about mental health. So what it turned out was like, okay, being the captain on your own ship, you can choose between go shipwrecked or you because you're sailing into the dark storm, or you can follow the beacon or lighthouse. So it's a metaphor for trying to save your own life or looking for not the light because this is not a religious thing. I'm not religious. So it's more like the metaphor for what's making you happy in life. You want to try to grasp as much as that just to be able to, have a good life. So that was
Yeah.
a long answer to a short question.
Yeah,
Sorry.
definitely. But with the latest album, did you want to continue in the same vein as Hide the Memory, or did you want to try something different that Abyssic hasn't done before?
Uh, if that question would have been about what we're doing now, because we're working on the new album, like the fourth album, the answer would be definitely yes, because we have a new synth player. Uh, and the funny part about the fourth album that we're working on now is that the synth player is the same guy who played synth in Dun 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 Black Comedy.
Ooh, an
So
exclusive here, folks.
the yes, so the new album will be Black Doom, which is interesting, and it will be so catchy
Yes. Yes, black
that
metal and doom with
most
with a
people go
hint of
like, "Okay, is
catchiness.
this possible?" Yes, and also, I'm sorry to say, the lyrics will be in Norwegian,
All
so it
right.
will be harder for, but we will translate them for people. But it, since Norwegian is my mother tongue, it's easier for me to write like those kind of lyrics that we did now, because now we're writing about Norwegian folklores.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what kind of folklores you got over there, but we got like the nymph from the woods.
Yeah.
Like she's a pretty woman
Yeah.
that lures guys
Supposedly because
into,
I live near in
yeah,
the southern part of the US, we have like this thing called the Sasquatch and other stuff. Like I
yeah.
know I've seen some stuff is interesting, but some I feel like I'm like, "Pfft, okay, man." Yeah.
Exactly. So we wanted to write about that. And I live in the middle of the forest. I mean, when it's black outside here, dark, it's so pitch black that you can't even see your hand. So I guess that inspired me because I'm like I love hiking, so I go a lot of hiking in the woods, and so that inspired me actually to write about the Norwegian folklores, different kind of folklores, which is quite spooky actually, because the
Yeah.
Norwegian Vikings and everybody were very, very, superstitious.
Yeah.
So I think it will be interesting for people to read the lyrics
Yeah.
when it's released, actually.
Yeah, but of course like writing having the lyrics in Norwegian, it almost has to be in a way kind of like personal for you.
Oh, definitely. And that is because I wrote also about a woman who got burnt on the stake because she was not a witch, but she was actually having a sexual intercourse with her stepfather. And back then, of
Ugh.
course, they, you know, killed the women, not the man. So
Yeah.
that was actually she was actually not burnt on the stake. She was beheaded. Sorry,
Oh
my
my
bad.
God.
And that was back in the 1700s, 1600s. So,
Yeah.
so they killed, always took the women, blamed the women, and the guys were like, okay,
Yeah. Yeah, but
crazy back then.
yeah, but talking about like your bass playing, because I know you've heard like your fair share of bass player jokes and memes and all those memes and stuff, but I feel like you don't gravitate towards flashy bass playing, but I feel like you find ways to sort of link what the guitars are doing with the melody and what the drums are doing with the rhythm. So for you, whether it be with Abyssic or any of the other projects that you've been involved with, what's like your approach to like tracking the bass?
I tend to, and that has been my thing always. I sometimes I play like just a low end because I want to make the guitar actually sound even more powerful. So I have a six-string bass or several six-string basses, and when the guitar playing like dee doo dee doo, I can go like. But then again, if it's like a technical thing, I okay, cool, let's do. That's no problem for me. But I'm in between bass player, if you know what I mean. I like both. If you wanted me to do the AC/DC bass, I could do that. I would be bored as hell,
Just be like
but
boom,
I
boom,
could do
boom.
it. Exactly. If you wanted me to do like the tapping thing and technical thing, I could do that because I love tapping. I love, everything. If you wanted me to, play fast as hell, I could do that. So, I mean, it depends on the song, but I always rehearse the song before I enter the studio, even now that we can copy paste and everything, because I want to have my personal touch on it, if it makes sense. Because I think that a lot of, okay, I better watch my language now. But I think a lot of musicians are what the other guys do, and also I'm a bass sound nerd, so I want my bass to sound in a particular way. Uh, if if you know what I mean. So I don't want to be just another copy of everybody else's whatever. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, kind of like in the end, to sort of wrap things up, what's next for Abyssic? I know you mentioned you're starting to work on the next album. Is just anything else with the band that you would also like to plug in terms of tours and stuff? Maybe a US tour, maybe?
Oh, I hope so. That will be awesome. But again, it's pretty expensive to do a UK, no, US tour now because of you have to apply for absolutely everything now, and it
Yeah.
costs, I think, approximately $1,000 just to apply for working visas. So, but then again, that being said, we are optimistic because we want to do a US tour. Also, what else? We're doing a lot of festivals next year. Nothing is firmed yet, but it will be. But then again, that will be European festivals for now. Yeah. And other than that, just keep on writing new music and enjoying life.
Yeah. But thanks, man, for coming on. It's so great to be able to have you on. It's just any final words you want to say to the viewers that are watching us to close this out?
Well, just enjoy music, enjoy life, and play metal.
Hell yeah. So everybody, Memnoch from Abyssic, and we'll see you next time.